I'm Eric.
And I'm Ash.
And this is The Hash.
With Eric and Ash.
Back with another episode of The Hash. Man, this has been a tough one. I feel like we
switched the setup.
We switched the setup and having just a little bit of technical difficulties, but that's all good. It's all part of the game. But today's episode, what are we talking about, Ash?
We are talking about essentially just how to really manage and navigate cravings. I think that this is a huge topic for a lot of people, and so we're going to kind of go over how to manage them, what to do if they come up, and just kind of how to approach them.
Love it. So I mean, what are some tips that you have for cravings?
So I have a little 3-step process that I do with a lot of my clients, just because with yo-yo dieting, binge eating, this kind of goes hand in hand. But I thought first we could talk about kind of the different causes of cravings, because they're not all created equal. So the first one is lack of primary food, and primary food is essentially everything else in your life other than the food you put in your body. So that could be like, exercise, relationship, career, like your significant other, like all these other things that make up your life. So if you're not satisfied with those parts of your life, a lot of times people lean on food. What?
Nothing.
Lean on food for, just to make themselves feel better and stuff like that.
Fill that void or whatever. Yeah.
So, and just as an example, like for me, I feel like I truly didn't stop binge eating until I found a career that I liked. Because I feel like I was so truly bored with, especially when we were working from home. Mm-hmm. I literally was working at the kitchen table with all of the food just right there.
Ready to rock.
Yeah. So it was really hard for me because I would always be like, oh, I'm so bored. I'm just going to go eat something.
Right.
There were obviously underlying issues too, but as soon as I found something that I was truly obsessed with and passionate and felt I was so in alignment with, like health and fitness, that's when my cravings truly went away.
Yeah, I think I have a list full of tips and stuff here, right? But I think when it really comes down to it, most of the time it is something a lot deeper than just I want a fucking Snickers bar or a piece of pizza. It really is something else going on, whether that's some sort of anxiety or stressor going on in your life that maybe you're not even really aware of. And so let's just get that out of the way before we get into some of these other tips that kind of if we didn't say this first, it might act like we're just kind of brushing that off. But I think it really starts by just becoming aware of your cravings, right? Take notes.
Awareness.
Yeah, right. And you might just be kind of mindlessly just inhaling a bag of chips or whatever your craving may be. But the first step to that is catching yourself, with Cheeto dust all up your wrist and being wow, I, this is not who I want to be, or this is, abnormal or something like that.
And your brain can just be on autopilot. Like you mentioned, awareness is the first piece of it, but sometimes we're so unaware that it's just you're on autopilot, and you literally you get home from work, you immediately go to the fridge, or go to the pantry, grab some chips, go sit down, watch TV, and just eat as you're relaxing. And then you get into the habit of that, and then you start associating relaxation with TV and eating.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, when you're becoming aware, start to understand what is causing you to want to have these cravings, right? Did you just get did your boss just chew you out? Was it just after a long day? Is it the weekends, you kind of finally feel it's time to cool, made it through the week, let's fucking celebrate type thing. And then that'll once you start to understand what is triggering that, it can help you manage that better.
Easier said than done though. I know it took years of therapy for me to actually admit to myself that it was something deeper than I like food. I was no, I just love food. And I've had clients come say that to me. I'm okay, that's fine. Yeah. If you're in that stage, I'm not going to push you, but eventually you will come to find out that it is something deeper than that. Everybody likes food, but when you're having these intense cravings and needing to sit and binge eat, there's definitely something under there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else on that before we move on? Okay, cool. Another kind of cause of craving is if you're not hydrated enough. Sometimes our body actually thinks we're hungry when we're really just dehydrated. So that's like one tip, is just really make sure you're hydrated. And it's not to say like if you're truly having a hunger cue and you're like just trying to chug water to make that go away, that's not what I mean by that. But if you are really making sure that you're hydrated, then you can kind of like cross that.
Yeah. So if you're someone who like just, you wake up, you just went 8 hours without water, maybe the only water you get, you brush your teeth, you get some water in there, then you start pounding the coffee, head to work, pound some more coffee, not really thirsty. I don't know, when I'm like drinking coffee a lot, I'm not like really thirsty. And then, oh man, I'm starving. Like, let's go get a big lunch or something. If you can just kind of like start off hydrated, then it'll set yourself up for success.
Tip for that, keep water next to your bed.
Yeah.
When you go to sleep. For some reason I didn't. That's like common knowledge to me because I feel like we do that all the time, but I don't think that is for people.
Well, when you said that, I was like, yeah, no shit. How else would I survive the night? Like,
I know.
It's gotten better, but I feel like I used to, one time at least throughout the night, take a fat swig.
I've tried to stop. Because I hate getting up and having to pee. I
have to pee regardless. I've just accepted that is my life. One or two.
But sometimes I'll have to pee multiple times the night.
Yeah, it's just part of life.
It's cold. I don't want to get up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I push it. I'll literally just be sleeping and I'm like subconsciously, no, I have to pee. But I'm like, I'm not getting up.
I do that for about 15 seconds, and then I remember I'll be so much more comfortable if I just get up and go take a whiz, get back in bed, and get another 4 hours before I have to get up and do it again.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Don't do that. Cool. I think another good tip is just like finding healthier alternatives to satisfy your cravings. Like,
love it.
I love In-N-Out. But I probably shouldn't eat it every day. And so like something that we haven't had in a while, which we should have, is a burger salad. So we take like, couple burger patties, cook them up in a pan, and then we get, the butter lettuce, get the tomato, the onion, the pickles, all that stuff, and make a salad, which is going to be, you can kind of control how crazy you want to go with it, but typically going to be something that's a lot more well-rounded of a meal. Probably a lot lower calorie than something like In-N-Out. But yeah, I think finding healthy alternatives so it doesn't really feel like, you can kind of like have your cake and eat it too. Like you can, scratch that itch without like.
Yeah, that actually kind of ties into my next like kind of cause of craving that I was going to mention. And just bear with me. But like it's essentially seasonal. So we start to crave things based on, if it's Christmas time, I want to eat all the treats. I want to eat, maybe we're drinking wine a little bit more often, like or in the summer you do crave a little bit more salad. So sometimes cravings can be good in some ways as well. But where was I going with that? But anyways, yeah, creating healthy versions of these foods that you crave is an amazing way to scratch the itch, because honestly, you can make a healthy version of almost anything. Like just with good, clean ingredients. Like I used to make vegan mac and cheese all the time, but like making it a balanced meal.
Right. And obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be exactly the same, right? It's not going to be that same delectable, delicious thing. But if like, let's say your thing is mac and cheese, and instead of having, every once a week, you have your super high calorie, delectable mac and cheese, maybe 3 of the 4 weeks you have your vegan option, then you treat yourself once a week. That's, a solid compromise.
Yeah, exactly. Same with like sweets and stuff like that. I am a big believer that if you're craving sweets every single night, that you should have them. And I'm taking a step back from sugar for different reasons other than I'm stepping back from sugar for my acne, not because of anything else. But whenever I get these feelings of like, oh no, I should not be eating dessert, I shouldn't do that, like, then I'm like, you know what? No, Ashley, you're gonna have dessert every single night until that feeling goes away. And then it kind of takes away the excitement out of dessert, which sounds depressing, but it's like,
kind of give yourself that permission, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you have this like taboo
like
thing
you
that
can't
you're
have
not,
it.
yeah, you want it even more.
Yeah.
That's
But like, there's also like, if you're like, okay, I'm not gonna have a piece of cake every single night, but there's like other options you can kind of do, like mug cake that we make, which is like made
protein
with
powder, egg,
baking powder, like, oh my god, why am I blanking? Any type of sweetener, maple syrup, something like that. But it's so decent and it's delicious.
It's so decent.
I meant like I'm not gonna say it's like amazingly healthy for you. That's what I meant by that. No, it's good. Yeah. It's real good.
Yeah. It's so decent. You should really try it. It's very decent.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think trying to avoid the
yogurt and granola and like chocolate chips. So good.
Yeah, I think trying to avoid the temptation altogether by like just not keeping that stuff in the house. You know, like if you know you have a bag of Ruffles or I don't even know.
Bag of Ruffles.
Or some my thing is the peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's. Those are not
shout out to Joan.
Safe. Yeah. And that's what I even talk about here. So avoiding it altogether is going to be your best bet. You know, like don't bring that stuff, like if you know that you're going to be tempted by it, like set
yourself up for success.
Yeah, don't bring that into the damn house. But if you do have them around, you know, what you want to do is like increase the friction to getting it. So this is something that Matt McLeod, another online coach, he talks a lot about, increasing the friction. So again, like my mom, she like loves to gift those Trader Joe's peanut butter cups, and for Christmas she gave us 2 containers, one for me, one for Ashley. Ashley doesn't do dairy though, so I got 2 tubs of peanut butter cups, and typically I'll inhale that whole thing in like a week, and it's probably 10,000 calories. But this time around, what I did, instead of just having it like right inside the cupboard where I could see it, I could easily grab it, I increased the friction by putting it on the lower shelf where I can't even see because I'm just so tall. And I put it back behind a couple things, so I really had to make an effort to get it.
I think I had to kind of like once. I think I put them in the back one time,
but that's where I was already hiding them. Yeah. You hid them in my hiding spot, so that didn't work. But no, typically like I'd run through that in like a week, and they lasted me like a month, which I was honestly pretty impressed at how long they lasted. So moral of the story is, you know, increase the friction. And then on the flip side, for the stuff that you do want to eat more of, I know we're talking about cravings here, but you know, I think this kind of will make sense, but like on the other side of things, like the stuff that you want to eat more of, the fruits, the vegetables, you want to decrease the friction for that, you know? So, you know, keeping the fruit on the fridge where you're going to see it, or on the fridge, keeping the fruit on the counter where you're going to see it every day, or like maybe pre-cutting it all up so it's easier to eat. Yeah. You know, like for us, what we've been doing with like our blueberries that we put in our yogurt, instead of having to like take them out and wash them every time, we get them, we wash them, we dry them and put them in a mason jar so they're just ready to go.
We always do that.
We did this week. Okay, so I did this week. You've been getting to enjoy the fruits of my labor, no pun intended.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think another big thing too, if you're having all these cravings, which of course there could be some underlying issue, or not issue, like just underlying meaning, but also a lot of people have cravings and like binge because they're not eating enough throughout the day. At least with my clients, for sure, they're not eating. Not all of them, we're working on it. But like a lot of people I talk to is like, you know, they're like, yeah, I'm starving. I only ate lunch. And I'm like, well, your body's always trying to be in equilibrium. Like it's going to try to balance itself out. Even if you think like, oh, I skipped breakfast, like but I'm not hungry. And then you have lunch and then dinner, you're like, I'm starving. It's because you've had so little calories that your body's just, again, trying to balance it out and just like you're starving. So there's no wonder.
Well, that's what I see a lot with my clients too, is that same kind of thing. They'll say like, I don't have an appetite in the morning. I just get going with work, crush some coffee. Maybe I'll have a lunch if I have time, and then I'll have dinner. And then I don't know why, but hell breaks loose after that. And it's the ice cream, it's or this or that. And then I wake up in the morning and I don't know. I don't have an appetite. Yeah. It's like, well, why do you think you don't have an appetite? Because you just had 10,000 calories right before bed. Mm-hmm. You're not very hungry, and then it just kind of sort of this.
But it's hard. It's like comes back to that awareness.
It comes down to that awareness, and I think you kind of have to like fight through. Like you have to get yourself on that regular schedule, mm-hmm. and that might mean kind of pushing through a little bit of a lack of appetite in the morning, to where you get up, you do that. You have a nutritious, high protein breakfast. You do the same thing with lunch, have the same dinner. And then you'll probably find that you're more satisfied. You're not, really craving as much as you typically would, having skipped those meals earlier throughout the day.
I also used to be like, oh yeah, I'm not hungry in the mornings, but I'd be stuffing my face with coffee. And it's like, okay, what if you didn't drink the coffee? Right. How would you feel then?
Yeah, and kind of like, I think a good rule of thumb, which ties into this, but, for other reasons too, is like, when it comes to your coffee, like you got to earn your coffee. You got to hydrate and get something in your stomach, even if it's just like a little ready to go protein mm-hmm. shake, like just mm-hmm. something of sustenance and hydration.
It's good for your hormones too.
Yeah, exactly. It's great for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think too, I had the same thing, like eat regular meals. But the next thing I have here is like getting plenty of sleep. So,
good one.
Yeah, I forget, there's ghrelin and there's leptin. One of them, they're both hormones. One of them,
ghrelin is your hunger hormone.
Yeah, that tells you like how hungry you are, and leptin tells you like how full you are. And when you don't get enough sleep, the ghrelin, it increases a lot, and your leptin decreases a lot. So you're a lot hungrier, and you don't get the same sense of fullness. So it's like you're getting attacked from both angles when you don't get enough sleep, and you're just kind of like this bottomless pit.
That also just makes sense, because I feel like when you're tired, your body's kind of like looking for energy. You're like,
right, you didn't get the restfulness.
Yeah,
sleep.
So it just makes sense to me. Whenever I'm really tired and I'm extra hungry, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Like I need to fuel my body because I'm hungrier, because I need more energy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I can remember listening to a podcast with Matthew Walker. He's like a sleep doctor, and he went into a lot more detail too about like not only like you're just hungrier and crave more, but like the things that you crave are like typically a lot poorer choices in terms of like food quality as well. So go check out some of his podcasts. Yeah, we're gonna get him on here soon. He's just been really busy doing Rogan and a couple other smaller podcasts, but
no big deal.
We're in line.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on craving specifically.
I just have, load up on protein, right? Hitting your daily protein. You literally called yourself the protein queen the other day, so I don't want you to protein me, bro. Hit your protein target, and I'd like to, if you eat 3 meals a day, right? And you evenly space out your protein, that'd be about 33% of your protein per meal. So by lunchtime, that'd be about 66% of your protein. If you can get like 3/4 of your protein by lunch, I think that's a really good plan of attack. And it's going to set you up for success. And in my experience, like personally, as well as for my clients, like loading up on protein and making sure that they're hitting their numbers, or even going above and beyond that, has seemed to help them just reduce cravings overall. And the last thing here, have the fucking cookie.
Yeah.
The more you try to resist something, the more you're going to want it. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to like the quantity, right? The poison makes the dose. If you're eating a whole, tray of Oreos, that's probably a problem. But if you could have a couple of them, I know I used to make this like protein, like frosting type stuff. It was like Greek
Protein
yogurt. No, it was like Greek yogurt with like sugar-free Jello sweetener stuff. You like whip it up, and then I'd put like fruit on it and like an Oreo or two. Like crush it up and put that on top. And it was fucking fire.
That's kind of like
and
what
so
we
you kind of
talked
like, you know,
about.
I got the protein and also got like the sweet stuff with it and also some fruit. So it's like, you know, not just having a cookie or 10 cookies by itself. You're getting a little bit of it with some other good stuff, and it's going to go a long way.
Well, that's kind of what we talked about with the having dessert.
Yeah.
So like if you're like, oh, I want a cookie so bad, but then you're like, no, I'm going to eat something else to like that might be a little bit healthier, then you're still going to be thinking about the cookie. So if you just have a cookie and then maybe something to keep you a little bit fuller, you're golden.
You're golden.
The last thing I just wanted to mention about cravings is like that little 3-step process that I was talking about. So I'm just going to run through it really fast. So first, again, like you have to be aware. So the first step is to just really acknowledge and notice the craving. And this is the hardest part because again, like our brains are just on autopilot sometimes. So the first step is just, the first step is just acknowledging it. The second is just really exploring it with non-judgmental curiosity. And I feel like so many people, they just hardcore judge themselves. They're like, oh, like, why are you craving this? Like just being super negative about the situation. So if you can just kind of pause and then just think about it, like, where is this craving coming from? Like, am I actually hungry? Just kind of questioning it. And then the third step is to just proceed from a place of empowerment. And this is just like, make your decision and move forward. If you're going to eat the cookie and feel okay about it, but don't eat the cookie and then be upset with yourself for the next hour, the next day.
Make a decision and stick with it.
Exactly. So again, like, you know, if you're like, oh, maybe I'm not that hungry, I'm going to drink some water. And then you drink some water and you're still hungry. Okay. Run through the process again. So I found that really helpful with my clients to help them kind of just, again, navigate cravings, is to just really, again, acknowledge the craving, explore it, question it, where's it coming from, and then just decide and move on.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I actually had something else pulled up here, kind of going off that, like, make a decision and stick with it. And it reminded me of that milkshake study.
Oh,
where they
essentially,
it's called Mind Over Milkshakes. Mindsets, not just nutrients, determine ghrelin response. So essentially they had like two groups of people, or they had one group, they split it into, they had the whole group of participants. They split them into two groups, gave them the same exact milkshake, but they told like one group that this was like a delectable, like decadent dessert style shake. And they told the other group that this is like a meal replacement, like sort of like slim fast type thing. And it was the same exact thing. And what they found,
it actually was
the
same
effect of
exact.
food consumption on ghrelin may be psychologically mediated, and mindset meaningfully affects physiological responses to food. So it had something to do with the ghrelin and like how hungry and satisfied that they felt, which had other physiological effects as well. So
I think that was for me protein. Like I had in my mind for so long, protein makes you bulky.
Yeah.
And so that's why I, for so long, was like, you don't need protein. You don't need protein. And then I actually felt the physical feelings of feeling uncomfortable, though, when I ate it. You know?
Your perception is your reality. Mm-hmm. And now you're the protein queen. So. Well, cool. Anything else?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah, that wraps up. What episode is this? It's 8?
8?
Wow. Getting up there. Almost double digits. Thanks for listening, everybody. And
catch you on the next one.
Catch you on the next one.